Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harper on Rugby podcast. Joining me this week is someone back for his third appearance of this relatively young season and his 16th overall. Welcome back to Mr. David Cordial.
Thank you, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Great to have you back. Okay, let's turn our attention to our feature match of the week. And here is a generic 80-word summary of how things went. Leinster defeated Dragons 24-10 at Rodney Parade, powered by man of the match Joshua Kenny's two tries. Alex Soroka opened the scoring early, while R.A. Snyman sealed the bonus point late on. Despite discipline issues and yellow cards for Diarmuid Mangan and Scott Penny, Leinster's scrum dominance and sharp attacking shifts proved decisive. Dragons briefly led through Matthew Screech's try, but Harry Burns' conversions and Snyman's impact off the bench ensured victory. Debutant Josh Eriksson capped a memorable night for Leinster. Obviously, we'll be going into a bit more detail than that. But before we get to our first talking point this week, you may have noticed in that 80-word review that I neglected to mention a certain incident towards the end of the match. And before anyone sends a load of rage comments, that's only because we're going to have this little extra segment about it right now. Just to set the scene, there was 8 minutes left. Leinster lead by 7. Dragons have a line out in their 22. Soroka steals it, batting it down to Larmer, who then loses in the tackle, meaning the Dragons are back on the attack anyway. They've had several phases in and around the 5 meter line. Now, our defense holds them out, and the Jerry Kerr tackle forces a knock on, which seems great for us until the TMO brings attention to a certain Scott Penny challenge. David, how did the officials handle it from there?
Yeah, it was a really interesting one. I'll give the referee, it was Maury Ferreira, credit. He throughout the whole course of the game, he was a very decisive referee. Whether or not you agreed with every decision he made, he seemed pretty sure about what he was talking. He seemed quite clear in his communication with his other match officials. Essentially, the decision that they came to seemed to be that in the course of defending at the try line, a Dragons player dipped considerably towards the ground. Scott Penny was in position to make a legal tackle. He was low, he was bent to the hips. And so the judgment was that even though there was head contact, there was no foul play, and therefore there was no need to call it back. I think in times gone by, the standard has been if there's head contact, that's it. That's the minimum, and we go from there. It's either, we start at red and then work our way down, depending on mitigations. My understanding now is that there's been a slight change, and that is, um, the first question is, has head contact occurred? If that is the case, then the second question is, was there foul play? And if the answer to that is no, then the result is play on. It's only from there you decide, player at fault, degree of danger, mitigation, and so on. Morne Ferreira decided that there was no foul play, that Scott Penny was in a position to make a legal challenge. Nothing he did was illegal. And so, therefore, even though there was head contact, he adjudged that the correct decision was to play on. I think it would be churlish to say that if the positions were reversed, I wouldn't be furious. It's very unusual to see direct head contact like that and see there be um no penalty, no anything coming out of it. I think as a greater scope of the game, we'd have to ask the question if we're starting to allow a situation where head contact can occur, is that something that's going to come back to bite us in the future? Particularly given the high degree of focus on head contact in the game. I suppose the balance of that is to say that if the judgment in the situation from Ferreira was that despite there being head contact, it wasn't an illegal act um, from Scott Penny. No difference, basically, no difference in his eyes from if the Dragons player had made head contact with Penny's knee or Penny's hip. Um, then the fair thing in that situation probably is to allow play on. But yeah, it was a really weird situation. The thing I would give for compliments for is that he seemed pretty clear on his understanding of the rules. It's quite a complex. I have like a whole flow chart here that I'm reading off of um, to base this off of. A consistent criticism of referees and criticisms of the process is that they need to have all of this in their head on the spot. He clearly seemed to understand it on the spot. He wasn't being led by his TMO or by his ARs. He, as with most of the decisions he made in the game, was pretty clear on what his interpretation of it was. Whether or not it, in the fullness of time, proves to be what we would all think should be the decision, he knew what he wanted to do. I thought he was pretty clear at communicating that with the two captains. So, um, whatever about the outcome, I can't criticize him for his communication style. Whatever for the decision itself, I was okay with it as a Leinster supporter. I would have to say that if I wasn't a Leinster supporter, I'd probably be less okay with it. But yeah, it was very. I would almost categorize it as a freak incident, and an interesting opportunity to look at the flow charts that govern head contact.
Yeah, I mean, you got to compare it to the decisions you've seen in other places, I suppose. I mean, I think we've been told over the years that head contact was the thing. Like you say, that's where it is the starting point. And although he did explain himself properly, and he did say, but it's just when you, like I say, when you compare it to other things, for him to say, I know there was head contact, but he was in a legal position to make the tackle, so no foul play. It's like
Yeah,
I know there was head contact, but it was surprising that the final result was no penalty at all.
yeah,
That's I think where we ended up. But listen, it's and then given what happened next, I mean, the scrum led to a penalty, which led to a line out, which led to a high ball and dropped. Thanks to a JJ Kenny tackle, R.H. Stamen ran onto it. Then we get the bonus point try, 14-point swing, and then right after that, Luke McGrath he gets a yellow card, and all he did was tackle someone with it. He didn't retreat 10 after a free kick. So it just
yeah,
I think that compounded, and it was Leinster. It was
yeah.
us. So that compounded everything, the reactions afterwards. I mean, what I've seen on the socials, even most, what Leinster fans agreed, like you say, that we'd be really pissed off if the roles were reversed. Although, like I say, in that case, I do wonder if we'd get the same amount of sympathy from the neutrals as the Dragons did. But anyway, it was a key moment. Hopefully, we've addressed it properly, and we can park that there. So let's move on now and get on to our actual harping points for this week. And you want to start out by looking at Leinster's overall attack.
Yeah, I do. I think the attack has been something that has kind of caused consternation over the last few weeks. The fact that we didn't score at all in the opening round of the competition was obviously a massive source of frustration. I think it's been a long running kind of concern among, let's say, some Leinster fans when Stuart Lancaster left the province, he had us playing a very attacking on ball brand of rugby to then switch over to Jack Nienaber is obviously a senior coach who's much more known for his defense and his focus on keeping the opposition out rather than scoring yourself. So I did think under the circumstances, it's and I really got this through my rewatch because I think in the moment of the actual game I was just concerned enough with actually winning the damn thing that I didn't give it as much thought. But in hindsight, I thought we actually had quite a nice attempt, at least, to attack. I think, always important to caveat that the conditions in Newport, as they always are in Newport, were fairly atrocious. It is very much the Galway of Great Britain. It is constantly raining there. But like right from the off, like 2 minutes in, Leinster are coming off the back of a scrum. They move left as quickly as possible, slightly too quickly. Jimmy O'Brien overpasses and sends it out in front of Jordan Larmour. But the attempt to move wide is there straight away. Leinster already have a penalty off the back of that, so they kick long and down the touchline. Um, Leinster in 2 minutes after that, we're going for an overthrow from a line out. Very hard carrying in the middle. I think this was a consistent criticism of Leinster in the last few weeks, is that, and Ireland actually in the past few weeks, is you have to earn the right to go wide. In this game, I thought we had the heavy carriers we needed to deserve that right. In the forward pack, my eyes go immediately to Alex Soroka, who I thought carried very well and had an excellent game. Jack Boyle, who's obviously been passed out by Paddy McCarthy now, but he's still a very physical carrier. And Kieran Frawley, who is in this kind of weird in between position where he's been picked as an out half but played as a 12, and then you play him at 12 and you're reminded this guy is incredibly physical. Funnily enough, given the consternation about Sam and his defensive capabilities, Frawley is an excellent tackler and an excellent carrier. And he just happens to be able to distribute and kick. So strong carries from those lads, creating space out wide for Alex Soroka to power over in the corner. It was one of the strongest carries I've seen. I think he went from like the 5 meter line. Now he had some help in the backup, but stayed upright and stayed forward facing enough to power his way over. It was phenomenal. We moved on later in the game. Like it was this good Leinster attack from kick to touch off scrum pens again, strong carrying off lineouts. Fintan Gunn and Kieran Frawley. This is the other thing. We had a lot of kickers in the back line. It wasn't just Harry Byrne. Harry kicked well. He always kicks well. But Kieran Frawley was doing crossfield kicks. Fintan Gunn was grubbering. The grubbers didn't always work out, but he was attempting the intent to attack was very much there. Even Max Deegan free kicking off a scrum, yeah, taking a free kick off scrum quickly and attacking so fast he actually got turned over. But it was very intentful. Like it's been a criticism I've had over Leinster the last few weeks is that they haven't seemed to have this impetus. But it was really, I think, for the first 20 minutes we had a flow, and I thought from there we were going to go. The second 20 minutes kind of dipped back. It was the Dragons who took the four. But